we must begin our welcome speeches. Dear Mr. Rector Remus Pricopie, Honorable Mrs. Dean Alina Bârgăoanu, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the city of Bucharest in Romania at the National University of Political Studies and Public Administration. As a general chair of the 4th International Conference Semiosis in Communication, New Challenges of Multimodality in the Digital Age, it gives me great pleasure and honor to extend to you all a very warm welcome on behalf of the local conference committee. I wish to take this opportunity to welcome the almost 120 participants who sent papers from 30 countries from all over the world as the representative of the students, lecturers, and researchers. I also wish to welcome our keynote speakers, Professor Kirill Halloran, Jean-Marie Glinkenberg, David Makin, Robert Logan, Massimo Leone, Christian Bangov, and Evangelos Kourdis. And our invited speakers, Professor Paul Cobley, who will speak to us in a short time via Zoom for coming to our campus. I hope today's events will serve as a catalyst for strengthening international cooperation on the transfer of knowledge, provide an opportunity to talk about common challenges, share best practices, and discuss new scientific research that responds to the new social realities and tomorrow challenges. I have often been asked about the meaning of the event logo. Let me say a few words about it. You can see on the screen. So, this logo is a stylized representation of the finger of Hamagia, a complex of two statues belonging to the Hamagia culture, which dates from approximately 5000 BC, discovered in the middle of the last century in the necropolis near to the town of Cernavodă in the southeast of Romania. The finger is an anthropomorphic figure. You can see now the real statues on the screen. So this finger is an anthropomorphic figure sitting on the little chair, his arm bent on his knees and holding his head. This position obviously suggests meditative attitude, so he was named the finger after Rodin's famous sculpture. The finger was not found alone. He was accompanied with the so-called sitting woman, his pairs. In turns, the woman is placed directly on the ground, both hands being placed on the leg. Through their communicative gesture and posture, the finger and sitting woman show us in the most expressive way that multimodality has been a paradigm of human communication since of the beginning. This is the main theme of our conference, to explore the various tenses of multimodality in communication, especially in the new digital ecosystem. In the 2000, a UNESCO commission included the finger of Hamagia in the short list of 10 of the world's most important artifacts. Finally, I would like to give special thanks to the Mrs. Dean Alina Bârgăoanu and Mrs. Rector Remus Pricopie for their constant support over time for this event. Also, I am extremely grateful to the team of volunteer students from Iași and Bucharest who are helping us these days, and to our sponsor, without who these events will not be possible. Chim Market, represented by Mr. Cristian Cimpu, Vector International, represented here by Mr. Gabriel Stănescu and Alina Antohi, respectively the Romanian American University, represented here by Professor Andrei Lukic. Last but not least, I would like to express my gratitude to all those who have supported us over time and whose names have not been mentioned here. To Paula, my wife, the soul of these events, thanks will never be enough. Thank you again, and I wish you all a successful conference. Now allow me to take the floor to Mr. Remus Pricopie, our rector.
Bună ziua! I understand everyone knows Romanian, so I can provide my speech in Romanian, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is actually half true.
Yeah?
Many foreign guests who speak Romanian or have a Romanian origin, so.
I've been to this session each time when we organized for many reasons. Sure, as a rector and as a professor in the College of Communication, you have to encourage and salute your colleagues, your international guests. So I would say it's part of protocol. But I'm not here for, make my colleagues happy. I'm here because I really believe not just in the topic and the idea of this conference, but I believe in the international dimension of higher education. It's already in our vocabulary. Internationalization started to be really visible early 90s, but after 30 years of huge optimism related to international cooperation, I think now we have to fight to keep the international dimension of our universities. This university was established 33 years ago. Immediately, it's a new university. It's one of the newest universities in Romania. But it was established immediately after the revolution, having in mind the international cooperation. The founders of this university 33 years ago tried to ask and to give answers to a couple of questions. How we are going to build Romanian democracy without appropriate schools? Imagine during the communist regime, political science, international relations, communication, everything was under the umbrella of the Communist Party. So you don't build political science under any party, not just under the Communist Party. And the model of building this university was the Western model of School of Government. And we are happy to say and to be able to prove after 33 years, many of the Romanian diplomats, politicians, influential leaders at local level or members of the European Parliament are graduates of our university. Since 1990, there has been no government without minimum one member of the cabinet, professor or graduate of CNSP. Today I think we have 4, with a new cabinet just appointed last week. And the international dimension was from the beginning a key pillar of our university. With whatever you understand, whatever you like to understand from international dimension. All our professors have minimum one relevant international experience, Fulbrighters, many Fulbrighters, mobilities, Erasmus for students, and I can tell you something which is not necessarily visible in statistics, but CNSPA is a university with the highest amount of money per students from Erasmus. Because we have the 5th grant in amount, but we have 6,000 students comparing with other Romanian universities having 40,000 students. So today's conference, it's part of our philosophy to do research and teaching in a regional and global context. You cannot speak about digital without speaking about digital at the global level. You cannot speak about public policies without approaching in a comparative way each topic. Yesterday, a former PhD issued a document related to the taxation policies in Romania. A lot of criticism and just few accepting the idea we have to change the fiscal policies in Romania. It's based on science, on comparative approach, on international approach. So for this reason, in CNSPA, besides the standard activities that we have in all universities, we have teaching and research, we have a lot of interactions with the real sector of politics, of public administration, and also we are trying to build new models to promote new ideas and to base our concepts on your expertise. So after this conference, or also based on this conference, maybe we'll be able to advise the Romanian government how to approach the challenges of the new digital context, which, believe me, I'm not talking in a impolite way towards politicians, but sometimes politicians, they just don't have time to be aware of the news in any fields, including their fields. I used to be Minister of Education for 2 years, not as a politician, as a technocrat, and believe me, what you really miss as a member of the government is time to think. So that means you have to buy this time from the people that have time to reflect, to try to understand, and maybe to give solutions. So thank you for accepting to be part of this annual conference. There is a long list of people to whom we have to say thank you, but I will let the Dean to do this because it's her responsibility. And welcome to CNSPA. Before to conclude, I would like to give you 2 examples. Romania, of the way we try to help without playing politically, because we are not playing with a party or with the current government. We are playing with Romania in a Western and democratized context. In 2019, Romania had, for the first time, the presidency of the Council of European Union, which is a responsibility, a specific responsibility that a country member of the European Union has to play for 6 months. But you have to know the script and the rules of this game. And in 2016, we brought here in the university a short memo, I think 3-4 pages, sent to the President, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, and other people involved in the process. And very briefly, we try to underline to these people responsible officially for, playing the role of the President of the European Council in 2019, signaling that it's already late. We have to start to prepare, to train hundreds of people in order to be able to manage, I don't know exactly, maybe Alina will help me, 380 events. Which events means concrete meetings with dozens of topics on each agenda, negotiations, and so on. So this is a way we are trying to understand our role as a school of government in Romania, and trying to explain different contexts to the politicians. This is the first example. And the second example, to the public opinion. And I'll conclude with this second example. I don't know how stable your governments are. But in Romania, we like to change ministers, prime ministers, everything. And as an example, the mandate is for 4 years. This is the mandate of the parliament. But in the Ministry of Education, we had 32 ministers in 33 years. In Defense, 26. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, 20, more or less, and so on. And at one moment, a new prime minister, a new cabinet was just appointed. And 2 weeks later, a discussion related to a specific minister, he doesn't do what he is supposed to do, so probably will change, the prime minister said. In 2 days, we prepared not a paper, because it was not a paper, a seminar exercise, counting in a comparative way the survival rate of ministers in Romania comparing with other 9 countries. And naturally, we had the highest rate of instability. And just sent this to mass media without any comments. Again, it's an exercise for the first year undergraduate level students. After 6 hours, the Prime Minister didn't said any longer something related to changing a minister just appointed 2 weeks ago. I didn't know, I don't remember even who was the minister. But we try to do lobby in an academic way for a topic that is good for Romania. So, thank you very much. Please excuse me if I was longer than I was supposed to be, but in my job description is this, to introduce the university and the way we operate to our guests and to our friends, and I did my job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dear Mr. Rector Pricopie, dear Professor Dragan, dear guests, dear friends, I am very honored to be here today to welcome you to our university and to the College of Communication and Public Relations. There is no need to underline that this is a very important event to us, and I'm truly impressed with the high level which the agenda, high level of expertise that the agenda reflects. I will, since Rector Pricopie, my dear friend Remus, made such a comprehensive presentation of our university, I will ask for your permission to give you some thoughts about the topic of the conference and what my expectation is regarding the conversation. What I will say is, of course, informed by my long reflections about disinformation, information disorder, and on a more broader topic, the changes to the information ecosystem. So I think that really we are living in a truly changed information ecosystem. I know that this is very, very boring already. But still, I think that in the political field, in the policy-making field, and also in the academic field, we underestimate the changes to the information ecosystem. And let me underline the term ecosystem. It's not by chance, but I think that this is one of the most accurate terms in order to describe what is going on. And I think that the subfield of media ecology is one of the most powerful subdomains of the field of communication to explain this kind of changes. So I think that we are living in a completely changed information ecosystem. In my understanding, there are 2 factors that have brought us to the situation today. One factor is technological in nature. So I think that the changes are co-substantial with the explosion of social media, of internet, mobile technologies. We are talking about an information ecosystem which is data-driven, which is algorithm-driven, and which is increasingly driven by machine learning and artificial intelligence. So this is one strong factor accounting for these dramatic changes. The second factor, which shows that the political field, political science have an input into explaining what is going on. The second factor is geopolitical in nature. Of course, I made this presentation in a very didactic way, but of course the 2 factors are intertwined. So I think that we are witnessing the emergence of regional information blocks. There is an obsessive discussion in the public space, in the global public space, about the New World Order, but I think that in the information field, really we are talking about the emergence of a New World Information Order, which is less addressed in the discussion. So, and I think that this second factor, which is geopolitical in nature, reflects the fact that the global conversation is no longer steered by a Western actor, which is a completely different thing compared to 20 years ago, for example. So I think that this completely changed information ecosystem accommodates some blurred distinctions with which we are so accustomed that really we cannot really get rid of. Again, in the political field, in the policy field, but also I think in the academic field, in the field of research. So, for example, in this new information ecosystem, we no longer have the distinction, in my understanding at least, between what is real and what is not real. Now, with the emergence of ChatGPT, of course, we are more familiar with the notion of computerized reality, but this is a much older reality that really we are living in a kind of reality which is computerized and again, which is driven by big data, by platforms, by algorithms. And it is not only this, it is gamification, it is virtual reality. So again, the distinction with which we are accustomed for centuries between what is real and what is not real no longer strong, no longer hold. The second distinction that was somehow very familiar and very comfortable for us researchers, for example, was between mainstream media and social media. And there are tons of research and papers saying, okay, mainstream media behave in that kind of way, social media is a completely different thing. I think that this kind of distinction between mainstream media and social media no longer holds, and we are living in some sort of a post-platform information ecosystem. Another distinction that no longer holds is between old and new technologies, again, which are synergetic. Again, we can still make these distinctions when we do our research, but in reality, the distinction between old and new technologies no longer hold. And another distinction that no longer holds is between extreme globalization and extreme localization. And I think that we can find this kind of synergy inside one country, inside one territory, inside one community, and in very interesting examples, sometimes even inside the same family. So the combination between extreme globalization and extreme localization. I made this kind of introduction in order to underline the importance of the topic and also the importance of some semioticians in order to clarify this kind of new information ecosystem. And my expectation is that semioticians will contribute to solve one of the mysteries of our lives, the willingness of people to engage with fiction in order to deal with a complex reality that no longer makes sense to them. Let me congratulate all of you. Let me express my gratitude to Professor Sorin Dragan for being an excellent organizer and for having this outstanding capacity to bring people together. And let me wish you a very successful conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your very interesting speech, Mrs. Dean Alina Bărgăoanu. And now, thank you, Mr. Rector. Now, allow me to take the floor to Cristian Bancov on behalf of the International Association for Semiotic Studies. Thank you, Cristian, to be with us.
Thank you. Kuai, I would like to express my appreciation and greetings on behalf of the International Association, as well as a representative of the Balkan Association of Semiotic Studies, and to just notice that this event, which is taking place since 6 or 7 years ago, now is an established international meeting for semiotics, and in a way completes series of such events on the Balkans. And I would say that thanks also to the entity of this event, we may say that in the recent years in this region really significant things are happening in the field of semiotics, and I'm very optimistic about the future. Thanks to actually it is an example how to organize an event which is how to say beneficial for the university. It is beneficial for the International Semiotic Society. In my gratitude, which I would like to express to Nicolae Sorin, but also to the university, Mrs. Dean and Mr. Rector. as well to Paula Sorin, who showed something which is very difficult to achieve in our field, and I would like to stress that it's a good example, how to involve the private sector, to get support from companies whose, let's say, who can as well benefit from the semiotic community and our research. So we see here a very successful combination of factors which make this event so successful and progressing in the years. So thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you very much, Cristian. Now allow me to introduce Professor Massimo Leone for a couple of minutes. Thank you, Massimo, to be with us.
All distinguished Dean, dear friend and colleague, organizer, dear Secretary of the International Association for Semiotic Studies, dear colleagues, good morning. I've studied Romanian many years ago, but I'll try anyway. Sunt cu adevărat încantat să mă aflu aici, la București. Iubesc foarte mult acest oraș din mai multe motive. Primul, directorul tezei mele de doctorat era din București și mi-a transmis sentimentul farmecului intelectual el acestul oraș. Al doilea, aici, în timp ce eram invitat la Centrul de Studii Avansate al Universității din București, am conceput proiectul Facets, un proiect ERC care m-a însoțit mulți ani și încă mă însoțește. Al treilea motiv, semiotica nu numai că are o prezență aici, dar are și o casă. Sunt foarte fericit ca în italiană și în romană această parabolă se scrie aproape în același fel, se pronunță aproape în același fel. So I'm truly delighted to be here in Bucharest. I love this city very much for several reasons. The first, my doctoral dissertation director, Victor Stoichița, was from Bucharest, and he conveyed to me a sense of the intellectual charm of this city. The second, it was here, while I was a guest of the Center for Advanced Studies at the University of Bucharest, that I conceived the Facets project, an ERC project that then accompanied me for many years and still does. The third reason, semiotics not only has a presence here, it has a home. I'm very happy that in Italian and Romanian, this word home, casa, is spelled almost the same way, pronounced practically in the same way, casa. This is no accident. Italians and Romanians share the same cultural sensitivity with respect to what is necessary to build a home. That is why I return very gladly here to Bucharest, not only for the memories of its intellectual prestige, of the many Romanian scholars that have become part of my personal intellectual sphere, but because here semiotics has a home, thanks to the extraordinary dedication and kindness of our colleague and friend Nicolae Sorin-Dragan and his wife Paula. There is an old established link between Turin and Bucharest. Do you know when the first chair of Romanian literature, history and culture was established at the University of Turin? Guess in what year? Guess. It was established in 1863, soon after the unification of Italy. Few years after the unification of Italy, the University of Turin thought that it was important to establish a chair of Romanian history, language and culture. And there is a historical reason. One of the Romanian national heroes and finest poets, Vasile Alexandri, spent much time in Turin, wrote there some of his finest poems. He was a friend of Camillo Benso di Cavour, the mind behind the Italian unification. 1 year ago, in 2021, a plaque was uncovered, unveiled, very close to my university, the University of Turin, to commemorate the presence and activity in Turin of this great poet. So that was a time in which there was a lot of diplomacy to make modern nations, but diplomacy came together with poetry. And this is probably something that we should recover to constitute an international community that has poetry somehow. I don't mean poetry like the poetry of the end of the 19th century, but the poetry of meaning, the poetry of communication, the poetry of really sharing ideas in a community. Thank you very much. Mulțumesc.
Thank you very much, Massimo, for this wonderful speech and insightful data. Now, allow me, so Paul, the floor is yours. Please, you have the microphone.
Excellent. So many thanks for that, Sorin. It's great to see everybody there. Well, when I say everybody, it's great to see the number of people that I can see, some familiar faces, which is great. And yes, I'm only too sorry that I can't be with you today. It was a perfect storm of, a confluence of circumstances, travel commitments, family commitments, and some work commitments that all happened quite late. It was the family commitments in particular that happened quite late, and I can't apologise enough, even though it's nice to see you. I'm here in a way, partly on my own behalf, because I've been to this event on more than one occasion, and it's a wonderful event, but also on behalf of the International Association for Semiotic Studies, because this event from the inception has operated under the aegis, under the auspices of the International Association. And so I should say something from that angle on behalf of that organisation. Now, as you probably know, most of you, that organisation, the IASS, was formed by a legal act in Paris in 1969, and then it was renewed again in 2015 by me and Christian Bankov, and we were in interaction with the prefect of police in Paris. And I mention this because often we're told that the IASS is a very European organisation, but in truth, certainly since we've been in office, me and Christian have done all that we can to make it a truly global association, and internationalising at all possible turns. But even so, taking the association to be a European organisation, even if that were true, it's a different kind of Europe than the one that's envisaged in terms of Paris, in terms of Berlin, in terms of London. And I say "ha" when I mention London, because semiotics is negligible there, and London isn't even the best city in the UK by a long stretch, and Milan. So, apart from those places, we really think of ourselves in terms of, other places, the Baltic. Estonia is where the oldest semiotic journal was founded in the 1950s, Science System Studies. And as John Deely said, it had the first semiotics course on planet Earth. Okay, so in Tartu, we're talking about the further reaches of Europe. Similarly, many of you will at least know, and many of you may have been there, when we used to convene every summer in Lapland, just on the edges of Lapland, in a place called Imatra, for a conference that lasted over 5 days, and its duration over the years had been more than 25 years that we were going there before that organisation moved. I think now also of the Nordic countries, NAS is a very strong organisation with an annual conference, and I think about the Black Sea as well as part of Europe. In Sozopol, regularly now in Sozopol, there's the early fall school of semiotics, which I first went to in a different location in Bulgaria in 1999. So if there's anybody in the room who's come from outside Europe, I would say welcome to Europe. I hope that you'll be happy during this visit. We're not all unthinking Eurocentrists. In fact, the centre is not an issue for semiotics in Europe, as I've just indicated, I hope. There are places in Europe that I could take you to which are as remote from civilization as you could ever expect to be. Rather put into the idea that we're the cradle of civilization. And even in my own country, the UK, I could take you to places quite easily where you would see poverty and deprivation that would make your hair stand on end and your flesh crawl. So that's something that I wouldn't like us to ever forget. But the other thing that I should say is, this association and this community of scholars, it's not just all about places, but obviously it's about people. So I'd like to say something about the people today, in particular, this notion that we're now starting to honour a little bit in the association. It's the notion of being a congener. It's a composite word or a collapsed word that Tom Sebeok came up with for a congenial convener. And we honoured Eratosthenes in that role in Thessaloniki last year on behalf of the IASS. And I'm happy to say that today you are in the comfortable hands of a supreme congener. Sorin, that's you that I'm referring to. Of course, it's not just you. I refer to the team you have, a wonderful team, and in particular, Paula. I've always enjoyed conversing with your team and working with them. And I shouldn't leave out the College of Communication and Public Relations and, in general, the National University of Political Studies and Public Administration, because everybody lends a hand. They deserve the credit. And if I was able to list them, I can't remember them all. The partners are extremely important. And I know, Sorin, that you work immensely hard to make sure that there is a balance of those partners and that their input is recognised in this wonderful event. So that was quite a mouthful. That was quite a long speech. That more than I meant to say, but it was what I was thinking of. And essentially, summing up, what I would like to say is have a great conference. See some great papers. That's guaranteed. I think. Do some networking. The next conference of the IASS in 2024 takes place in Warsaw, and the organizer of that conference is somebody that I met there in Bucharest, I think in 2016. So, things happen when you network. But above all, I would say, probably even more than papers and networking, above all, I would say have a convivial time. That's the way that work often takes place in the best circumstances. Probably the thing that I'm going to miss above all, although I probably shouldn't say that either, but have a convivial time, everybody. Thanks for all your work in this community, and thanks for those who have channeled the work and made it manifest over the next few days.
Thanks a lot, Paul, for your kind words, and I told everybody who brings in here today in Bucharest just to enjoy to our conference and feel like your home. Thank you very much.